Oi, oi, Savaloi. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat. We're going to talk about the man of the moment, everyone's favourite vlogger, pro-life traveller. I'm going to attempt to give you an update. I'm going to give you my considered opinion, having watched a lot more of his content, and I'm going to give you my predictions as to how I think this is going to unfold. Now, I'm going to have to be very careful about how I word this because it's an ongoing investigation. I don't have all the facts, and the last thing I want to do is prejudice the case. And it's a very sensitive subject. So I am going to try and navigate what I can say and what I can't say, what I believe to be fact and what is basically at this moment in time nothing more than conjecture. So in terms of an update, what do we know so far? Well, we know that this became public on Saturday the 9th when DUMAGUETE, a local website on Facebook page, DUMAGUETE News, published that he was potentially in trouble, and they outlined that a number of potential charges or crimes that he was being investigated by the local authorities here for. Subsequently, a video emerged of the search warrant being executed. The local cyber police team went round, they searched his property, they confiscated a number of electrical devices. What wasn't made clear, and what I haven't been able to ascertain, is whether he's actually under arrest. Now, there have been strong rumours that he was going to appear in court today, Tuesday, and potentially Wednesday. However, I have not been able to confirm these rumours. Nobody seems to know. I certainly haven't heard it, and I haven't read it anywhere else. Now, I'm not sure if he's under arrest. What I do know is that he is innocent until proven guilty. We have to say that. Now, as I understand it, the court, the investigators are still gathering evidence. I'm not sure if any charges have been laid yet, as I just said. However, as I understand it, when you become the subject of an investigation of the court, that could mean he's been arrested. It could mean that he has been denied travel. It could mean that he's stuck here. I honestly don't know. I don't think anyone does at the moment what's happening. They were quite vocal about it when it first kicked off, in the sense that it was on the DUMAGUETE News website, as I understand it, before the search warrant was executed, which seems strange. Maybe the footage was old. Maybe they didn't announce it until the search warrant had actually been executed, because presumably if they had, there was a chance he would flee. I think I would be quite surprised if he hadn't been arrested, because presumably he might pose a flight risk, being a foreign national. But then again, maybe they have confiscated his passport. I don't know is the honest answer. What I do know, and I can say with a degree of certainty, it is ongoing. The fact that they searched his premises and took electronic devices to potentially gather evidence against him would suggest I doubt they could have charged him so quickly. Presumably they would want time to process the equipment and, gather the evidence and put it in place so they know what they're doing. But as I say, I don't know. This part of the video really is speculation, because it's all we can do. And what's the point of a coffee and a chat if not to speculate? But that's what we know so far. I expect it to change quickly. As I say, I held off putting this video. I was hoping I would have some more information today, but as of this time, sorry folks, that's the best I can do in terms of an update of the current situation. So, okay, now the opinion part of the video. Now, anyone who watched the last video, I might put a link down in the description. I was quite open about the fact that I know nothing about the guy, really. I'd heard of him. I'd never really watched his content. Didn't know a lot about him at all, what he did, where he was from, etc. I now know a lot more. But for all the trolls who popped up in the comments and said you're just jealous of his success, you're jealous of this, you're jealous of that, I don't know how I could be jealous of someone I'd never heard of, really. However, since then, to rectify the situation, to learn more about him and be more informed for my next video, I watched quite a bit of his content over the last 2 days. So I think I have a fair idea of what he's about now. Again, this part is speculation. Apparently, he has removed some of the content that might put him in more danger, shall we say, in terms of prosecution. I don't know. I can only go by the videos that I saw. And again, as I said in the last video, I have no dog in this fight. I am not a hater. I am not a lover. However, having watched the content, I am probably moving more towards the hater side of the argument. Not my kind of guy, not my kind of content. But I'm not going to let bias get involved in this. What I'm going to try and do in terms of the opinion is I am going to give you an unbiased, and it really is an unbiased, as best I can, perspective on his content and the kind of ramifications he may face. Because there were a lot of comments in the video saying he has done nothing wrong, he's a good guy, he's this and that, you know, this is all allegations fueled by money, fueled by jealousy, he will prove his innocence, etc. Well, I think if you think that, you might be deluded. Not in the good guy sense. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know him. As I say, having watched more of his content or some of his content, I am not necessarily in the camp that he's a great guy, but that's irrelevant. That is just a matter of perspective, you know, personal choice. In terms of whether he has done something wrong, whether he, you know, these charges against him are false, it depends entirely on what charges or potential charges we are talking about. Because there are, now this again, this is just a rumour, so I'm going to be very careful how I word this. There are rumours that a person or persons have made complaints about him in terms of video content he may have made without their consent, which has not yet been uploaded. And that possibly was what the cyber police enforcement team were looking for in terms of when they gathered the electrical devices and the evidence. I don't know. That's speculation. Whether it's true or not, I do not know. However, looking at the content that he has published that I have looked at, if we are looking against specifically at potential charges in terms of breaching the Data Privacy Act over here, then I think unless you've got blinkers on, it's hard to not conclude that he is potentially bang in trouble. This is not the United States. This is not the United Kingdom. The rules are very different over here, and the rules are the rules, and they have been the rules since 2012. There are a lot of people again in the comments saying new laws came in last year and 2025, 2026. That's not actually the case. What came in or what were announced were guidelines, new guidelines on how to enforce the old laws of 2012 and to advise people and warn them of what they were obliged to do legally, what they could and what they could not do. Now, as I say, this is the Philippines. Whether you agree with the guidelines, whether you agree with the laws or the rules, it is irrelevant. They are the rules. Hey, this is not a Western country. It's not like the US or the UK where you, as far as the law concerned, you do not have a perception of privacy in public places. In the Philippines, you do. Now, these are the guidelines. As of the 17th of June 2025, the National Privacy Commission, NPC, has issued new guidelines requiring vloggers and content creators to blur or mask bystanders in their videos to protect individuals' privacy rights. Under the new rules, vloggers must blur or mask images of bystanders, especially children and vulnerable individuals. So you can see where they're going with this. Provide transparency by informing people that they are being recorded and that the footage will be uploaded online. Include a privacy notice on their platforms, allowing affected individuals to request the removal of content that violates their privacy rights. Violations of the circular carry potential criminal, civil, and administrative penalties under the Data Protection Privacy Act. Now, if you look at his content objectively, in line with the guidelines that I just showed you, I think it's pretty hard, unless you are living on another planet, to not see that there are, again, innocent till proven guilty, potentially a number of breaches in terms of the guidelines and in terms of the 2012 Privacy Act over here. I don't see a lot of blurred faces. I don't see, unless it's been edited out, much asking for permission before filming people. I see a number of minors in those videos. I think it would be reasonable to wonder if consent was gained to record those people from the parents, etc., whether they were present. You know, realistically, it doesn't look good in terms of the guidelines. And I think, to be honest, if you still think he has done nothing wrong, or there's no way he has done anything wrong, or the charges or the allegations are unfounded, then you probably want to give your head a wobble. As I say, I am not defending the guidelines over here. I'm not defending the law. Personally, I think it's draconian. I think it invades freedoms. I don't think you should have a perception of freedom in a perception of privacy in a public place. But I'm from the UK. I think differently. This is the Philippines. And if you are looking at it objectively, in lines with the guidelines, I think he has got a lot of cause for concern. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, there have been a number of allegations made on Facebook. Whether there is any merit to them, I don't know. He has been a controversial figure for quite a while now. As I say, I'd heard of him. My girlfriend Ellen, a couple of months ago, showed me some Facebook comments about girls who had been out with him, who weren't happy, who made certain accusations about being unfaithful girlfriends, etc., etc., etc. Not something I'm interested in, idle gossip. But the point is, those kind of allegations, those suggestions, those accusations, they could be part of the investigation. I don't know. That is speculation, you know. All I do know, it was what was outlined by the DUMAGUETE News Facebook page, and the fact that the search warrant was served and the commentary that was made during the search warrant. So, as I say, I don't think the authorities know entirely what they are charging him with yet. But if we are going to look at it purely in terms of breaches of the 2012 Privacy Act and the enforcement guidelines, then there is clearly, potentially a case to answer to. Might be that he can pull out, you know, he's got consent and he's got videos saying, you know, and parents are always present and all the rest of that good stuff. But the reality is, going by what you see online, and that is the online content, I can certainly understand why he was in trouble, or why he is potentially in trouble, because to the layman, casting no, not any guilt on him or anything like that, it doesn't look good. It is hard to see without any mitigating circumstances how the content that he is producing, or the majority of it, does not potentially breach the guidelines and therefore could be the subject of a prosecution. I don't know what more to tell you than that. As I say, it's not because I don't like the guy. I mean, I found his content, be honest with you, in terms of the content, I didn't think the editing was great. I don't really watch those kind of vlogs, but I have seen better editing and things like that. It wound about a bit, but there didn't seem to be any respect for people's privacy. There didn't seem to be any effort to blur people out. He just seemed to do his thing. Whether the people he was interviewing are receptive or not, I don't know. Whether there were some that weren't and they were edited out, I don't know. Anyway, as I say, trying to word this carefully, but yeah, I think you would have to be almost deluded not to think or not to be able to see that in terms of the vlogging rules, he's bang in trouble, bang in trouble. I don't wish him harm. If he can prove his innocence, great. As I say, I am no champion of the vlogging laws, but if you're going to comment, I mean, say what you like. Comments are good for the algorithm, but if you are going to comment, bear that in mind. This is not the West. This is the Philippines. Love it or hate it, agree with the guidelines, don't agree with the guidelines. It's irrelevant. In terms of the situation we are in now, where he is facing potential prosecution for breaching those guidelines, it looks to the layman that the prosecution or potential prosecution has a very strong case. That's all I can say about that. Now, in terms of conclusions, again, this is going to be pure speculation, I think he's potentially for the high jump. I think the whole way this has been done, in the sense that it appeared on an unofficial website, they were very well informed. They must have been tipped off by someone. Otherwise, they couldn't have known. The fact that when the search warrant was served, it was all videoed, and the fact that that video was made public would strongly suggest to me that the authorities believe they have a strong case and they intend to enforce it. I might be right, I might be wrong. Hopefully, in his case, he's hoping it's wrong, but I just don't know why they would do that. I think if there was any doubt, they would have been more covert about it. They wouldn't have filmed it. Because at the end of the day, if nothing comes of this, given the way it's been handled so far, then that's going to be embarrassing to the authorities. It's not going to make them look good that they have gone to this extent, publicised it, and then nothing comes of it. I think that's fair to say. And there is a thing in the Philippines called Pinoy pride, and it is a real thing. It is a real thing. And it's in all walks of life. It's from the bottom right up to the top, particularly the authorities. You can only see what's happened to Vitali to see. He insulted the Pinoy pride. And when the Pinoys take offence, they like a bit of vengeance, retribution, justice, whatever you want to call it. And it's quite obvious he has upset the people over here. And I get it. I get it. He has not, in my opinion, always portrayed the Pinoy culture and the people and the lifestyle in the best light. I'm not going to say he has exploited people, etc. That is a matter of perception, a matter of opinion. But I can certainly see why I would take umbrance at his content, and why, if I was a local Filipina of a conservative point of view, or I was a in the authorities over here why I might feel a certain sense of angst against him and why I might take action. And it is not something, as best I can see, that they've jumped into lightly. He has been warned repeatedly, it would appear. Say, I'm no expert on the guy. I didn't know anything about him until the other day, but lots of people have said in the comments that they have warned him of this, they have warned him of that. Again, I did a video a few months back when the new guidelines came out, and a number of people cited him as one of the channels that would be the first to feel the wrath of the authorities. And so it has come to pass. And I think he's been a bit stupid, to be honest with you, or very stupid. Either he doesn't care or he didn't understand the rules, which I find hard to believe because a lot of people warned him, it would appear. So he chose to ignore them. And I take the view very much, then he's made his bed and he needs to lie in it. And if he's found guilty, I think they're going to throw the book at him. I just get that vibe. I say no one really knows. It's all speculation, but I think they're going to throw the book at him. And again, if you look at the guidelines and the potential ramifications that I posted earlier, they've got a lot of tools in their toolbox. They can treat this as a criminal investigation. There will be criminal and potential penal penalties. It can be financial. My best guess, and it is a guess, it will probably be a bit of both. But there's, we're just going to have to wait and see how this unfolds. But if I was him, I would be very, very, very worried. And you've got to try and get into the mindset of someone like that. I know a lot of people will say it's the exuberance of youth, that he's got a personality and he's this and he's that. Well, okay, yeah, but there's a lot of young people and they haven't chose to make an income out of that kind of content. To be honest with you, some of the things I saw there, I found them quite offensive. And I'm not Filipino. Some of his comments, I mean, there was a guy who did a video, in fairness, hashed together what I imagine all the negative points of it. And in that, he admitted to being a scammer. He admitted to using certain substances. He asked for money a lot. I saw a video where he was asking for $10,000 to build land and things. You know, you could call that a scam. You could say it's not a scam. He did confess to be a scammer. I'm not really making any moral judgments on that. I'm just saying the more I watched, the more he's not my kind of guy. But hey, I'm not a lot of people's kind of guy either. But as I say, this is not a matter of personal taste. This is not a matter of, you know, freedom this, freedom that. Don't have a lot of freedom over here in the sense that the rules are the rules and you have to follow them. If you don't follow them, then you face the ramifications. Often over here, there aren't any ramifications, despite being a very strict place in terms of having a number of strange rules. They're very rarely enforced. And that's in any area from driving to whatever, vlogging. But it appears they are now. Do I think they're going to make an example of him? Yes, I think it would be hard not to conclude that that's their intention. Southeast Asia, though, there is many a slip between a hook and a lip. Money talks over here. Maybe he will be able to wangle his way out of this. I find that very hard to believe. A bit like Vitali. If Vitali was a bit less profile, Vitali's a very wealthy guy. As I said in previous videos, you could buy yourself out of it, I think. You can buy yourself out of most things in Asian countries, whether that be greasing the right palm or getting the best defence lawyers, etc. But when these things become so high profile and when pride is involved and you're potentially going to embarrass the authorities and the local powers that be, it's a different matter then. I think it's very hard to get yourself out in a situation like that. And yeah, as I say, you know, love him or hate him, looking at it objectively, uh, yeah. I mean, as I say, I think you know where I'm going with this. As I say, just looking at the content, looking at the guidelines, looking at the way it has been handled so far, uh, yeah, he has got a battle ahead of him. I say, I don't know where he is now. I think if he had been in the jail here, I'm sure that would have broken by now. If he is required to turn up at court, uh, presumably they've taken his passport away. I don't know. As I say, this is just conjecture looking at it from the outside. But yeah, it's. I would not want to be in his shoes, and I think it's going to give all vloggers food for thought. It's given me food for thought. I'm not really a vlogger in the sense I go out, but I had intended the new year to do some more walk-arounds, walk and talks. I always restricted my walk and talk since the new guidelines came into going through the forest and the jungle. I would like to do some more wandering around the town, but given what's happening with our friend pro-life, um, you got to think carefully. You know, is he the canary in the cave? Is he the sign of things to come for other vloggers out there? I saw Regular Guy did a thumbnail the other day saying he was next, which was a bit tongue in cheek. But there are a number of channels who have made similar content, and Regular Guy is one of those. If I was him, I'd be worried. You know, unless he's got this covered. And again, this is not me saying be worried because you're bad people or do the rest of it. My views on these people are irrelevant. I'm just looking at the content in terms of the guidelines. But anyway, I think I've said enough now. That was my update. Wasn't a great update. As I say, I was hoping to have more news. Because I'm in DUMAGUETE, I will probably talk about this again because I might hear before other people. In the last video, a lot of people were clearly interested. So I don't know if I will do another update on this or when or where or what will happen, but I probably will. But it is a case of, I think, of watch this space. My opinion is he's potentially in a lot of trouble. And I mean that, you know, again, I can't believe people are saying he's done nothing wrong. It's obvious these allegations are false. I don't know about the external allegations, but in terms of the vlogging laws, etc., again, I think if you don't think there's potentially a case there to answer, then you are, I go as far as to say deluded, because there clearly is potentially a case to answer. What his motivations are, I mean, I hope to God he's a bit more contrite now, because the last thing he wants to be is arrogant or, you know, obnoxious when he's dealing with the authorities. Hopefully he realises the severity of the situation that he finds himself. I think the fact that he hasn't made any content since would suggest that he's possibly not in a position to. He might have been told not to. He might be confined somewhere. I don't know. The fact that content was removed, I don't think necessarily suggests that he is currently at liberty. Could be that someone else, his partner or whatever, has removed content on his behalf. Really, I can't tell you anything in that sense. All I can tell you is what I've told you. That's the situation the best I know it. My opinion is he's bang in trouble potentially. My conclusion is I would not be surprised if they throw the book at him. Anyway, there you go. I have gone on too long. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.